Alright, man. Catch you later. Hello, everybody. Look at all of these bikes in here. There's a lot of motorcycles. These ones right here are probably, by the time you're seeing this, officially spoken for. And there's my poor little DRZ here. But if you look back there, what is that right there? Oh, look at it. Look at it. That is a 2014 Harley Davidson. What? Yammie coming in, telling me that I got the wrong bike. I got the right bike. Look at it. It's just ready to go for a ride. That is a 2014, I believe, Harley Davidson Sportster 48 that I rented on Twisted Road. I decided I wanted to make a little bit of a vlog on it. So that's what we're going to go do. Why do we have this Sportster 48? Well, by the time this is coming out, you will have seen our video on 3 ways to do big miles on different bikes. And I decided I wanted to spend the day on a Sportster. Yam got himself a Hyper Motard 1100, and Andrew got himself a Tiger 800, I think. And I decided I had to represent the Harley Davidson with this Sportster 48. And a lot of people, I'm noticing, are thinking that a 48, or a Sportster more specifically, is not really, kind of a big mile bike. And the 48 specifically is not a big mile bike for one reason alone. And it's down to that peanut tank right there. It's good for about 50 to 70 miles, tops. But we're not going to do 50 to 70 miles today, so let's talk about what it's like. Because I got to imagine that most folks out there think of the Sportster as kind of a beginner's bike. I do not think that this motorcycle is a beginner's bike at all. I really don't. This bike right here doesn't have ABS. You can see it's only got 1 disc up front. The brakes work pretty good, and this bike makes a lot of torque. And by a lot, I mean like 70 foot-pounds right away. So if I wanted to, I could yeet myself into the back of this Silverado very, very, very easily. As you can see, it's got no problem getting up to going speed. Why is this a beginner's bike in people's opinions? I think it's just because it's the smallest Harley Davidson. Aside from the Street Line and the Iron 883, this is the smallest Harley. It makes 68 horsepower, 72, 76 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. Small for a Harley, big for a lot of other bikes. And you wouldn't see us saying something like the XSR, even though we gave it away as a beginner bike. It's really kind of not. And this is very much the same. But all of that aside, what is this motorcycle like to ride? It is, hands down, the most unique riding experience I have ever had in my motorcycling career. It is an incredible motorcycle. Not an amazing motorcycle, not a great motorcycle even. I think it's so unique and it's so its own thing that if you've never ridden a Harley and you've never ridden a Sportster, you owe it to yourself to go try one out. I know a lot of people make fun of the Sportster. Oh, it's a girl's bike. Oh, the Skirtster. You can't ride it. It's a girl's bike. But it's really not. It's just a small being 1200 cc's cruiser that is really kind of, I wouldn't say playful, but it's not so serious, It's not so bound up in its own ethos. It's just fun. And this is just great. Watch when I rev it up. Do you see how it just kind of holds that RPM there for a minute? You know, it feels like an old muscle car. But it's a motorcycle. So you get all of that oil smell and thumpy, shaky vibration. It's so much fun to ride something like this because it's like taking a step back in time. And I know people, you know, pejoratively are like, oh, the Sportster's ancient, Harleys are ancient, they don't perform well. They're not meant to perform, they're just meant to do this, you know? And I'll prove that a little bit later when we get to some twisty roads. But on a 55-mile-an-hour highway, 70 miles an hour, just cruising, this is about the most relaxed, simple, easy-going riding experience I've ever had. And it's for that reason that I love it so much. And even though we don't have pipes on this bike here, listening to the valve train and the pistons slap and make a whole bunch of noise, you know, if this kind of noise was coming out of a Japanese motorcycle, people would think it's about ready to explode. But that's just what the Sportster does. The Evo motors have such loose tolerances in them that they just make a bunch of noise. You know, they kind of rattle and shake, and it kind of belies a bad build quality, even though this bike is so buttoned up that it might turn some people off. You know, this bike is really well put together. It is very competently screwed together. And I mean, listen to that, just listen to the clutch just clank its way into place. I'm telling you, this is a unique riding experience right here. But the biggest thing that stunned me about this motorcycle is actually how cool it is to ride in the heat. You'd think in a big old air-cooled engine like this would be unbearable. I mean, it's probably every bit of 100 degrees out right now. And this air-cooled engine is not throwing off a ton of heat right now. I mean, they've basically got this down to a science. So if you're thinking, well, I need liquid cooling because I live in the heat, you'll be fine. It makes you feel manly just sitting on it, you know, and I guess that's kind of where you get some of that Harley bravado from. You do feel kind of like a big man on it, even though it's the girl's Harley, which honestly, if you're thinking about not getting a Sportster because you're worried about what people might think of you when you're on it, as kind of weird of a statement as that is to make, you need to just realize that those people who are, if they're really railing on you for riding a girl's motorcycle, that says a lot more about them than it does about you. You know, this is the motorcycle for someone who just wants to do this. But how does it feel when we go quick? Not great. It's slow. It's very slow. And honestly, it doesn't like being wound out, you know? Fifth gear is pretty darn tall. It feels fine, you know? It's very clear that it's not what it wants to do. Biggest problem with this motorcycle, as I see it right now, there are three main problems. One, the tank is tiny. So the Sportster 48 comes with like a 2.3, 2.2 gallon gas tank, which is basically a thimble of fuel. That sucks, and it's hard to get around it. So if you're thinking about what you want, a foot forward Sportster, but you want to do bigger miles on it, you need to get yourself an Iron 1200. The second major flaw with this bike is the rear suspension disappears almost instantly. It's a real big shame because, you know, there's a lot of tooth clickers here in Austin where you hit it and it just goes right from the rear wheel to your spine to your jaw. And the third main issue is the brakes are not that great. They work, don't get me wrong. They completely work. They're absolutely paired well to the going power of this motorcycle, which is not much. So who should be owning this motorcycle here? Well, the 48 is for your in-town cruiser boy, you know, who's not doing big jaunts, wants a bike with kind of a lot of attitude, but, you know, still has decent performance chops. You know, this bike is not gonna win any AMA races or anything like that. It's for somebody who wants that Harley feel for their in-town bike. This is a great commuter, honestly. I've been riding it around on the highways here in Austin, and it's such a good commuter. It tracks so straight that it's such an easy, relaxing commute. Now, if you're the guy who still wants a Sportster but wants to be able to perform in the twisties, maybe you should be looking at something like the Roadster, which is actually the Sportster that I'm looking at. The main issue with this in a curve is right there. You can see on the tip of my foot there, those curb feelers. You set those down very quickly. I actually ran into Yammie on my way home from picking this up when I was out here. He had the Hyper, and I was trying to keep pace with him for a little bit, and I just at a certain point I just gave up because it just wasn't worth it. Because I was just scraping this peg here on the ground. Now, as you can see, this bike is handling these twisties fine, but I'm not pushing it, you know. And this is, I actually came to an epiphany earlier when I was riding this around. I think that the Sportster is the perfect motorcycle for somebody in basically anywhere where you have twisty roads but a lot of people. Because how often do you get on a twisty road and end up like this, where we've got a car in front of me that I don't want to just pass because I don't have any passing room? I can't get around this guy, so I'm just stuck back here, and I can just sit and cruise, you know? I can go through this turn up here without even putting my hands on the handlebars. Just, I'm using my hips to guide this motorcycle through this corner. I'm still not touching the handlebar. Still not touching the handlebar. Still not touching the handlebar. It's like being on a rolling couch, but when you get some open room, you can easily get yourself up to 60 miles an hour, you know. It revs really slowly, but I think it's kind of a rewarding riding experience, honestly. And anybody can outride this bike because of how quickly these pegs touch down. So if you want to feel fast without being fast, maybe a Sportster is good for you. And obviously the Sportster is the modder's dream, right? Any of the problems that I have with this bike, I can fix like that with a mod. You know, if I want a little bit more power, this engine, which has a 10-to-1 compression ratio, can be torn down and rebuilt inside of an afternoon to make some crazy amounts of power. Let's give this a little bit of a rip here. See, that's about all you want to do on it. You just want to go through one or two corners, just giving it the beans, and then you want to come back down to a nice, steady, easy ride. The Sportster 48 riding experience is easy. Everything about it is easy. You know, you don't have to fight it in a turn. You don't have to fight it to slow it down. It's an easy bike to ride, and I think maybe that's why people think it's good for beginners. I still think it's a little torquey, it's a little heavy, and the brakes are a little underpowerful, but it's just such an easy bike to ride, man. Now, how do you get past that Sportster price point? Because for a bike that's kind of this, perhaps not this performance oriented, or doesn't have all the features of a modern bike. I mean, this doesn't even have ABS, for God's sake. How do I make that price point a little bit more palatable? Well, by understanding that you can have a Sportster for the rest of your life. You buy it, and this thing, if you take care of it, do the oil change, make sure it's all good, you can have a Sportster forever. And with that, I think I'm going to sign off. We'll see a little bit more about these Sportsters I think I've got a handful of videos, and we'll see if I don't end up on one myself. So stay tuned for that, and as always, remember, if you like what we do here, the best thing you can do for us is go down to yammienoob.co and sign up. That's the best way you can support what we do here. It's the reason why I can go out and rent one of these bikes and talk about it on the internet, and you'll get entered to win some of our giveaway bikes and get access to our Discord server, all of that good stuff.
So my sweet little squid, this video is actually over, but lucky for you, click on this one right here. You can keep watching your sweet Papa Yam, delivering you the motorcycle content you've come to know and love. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll be here waiting for you. You're gonna click on that video.